Hi everyone, welcome to another What I Eat in a Day. So for breakfast one day this week, I made an oat and chia pudding bowl. I made this up the night before, so I placed 1/3 of a cup of oats and 1/4 of a cup of chia seeds in a bowl with 1 cup of almond milk. And I also sweetened it with 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. I gave that a really good mix together until it ended up looking a little something like this. And then I placed that in the fridge to set overnight. In the morning I removed it from the fridge and I topped it with some cacao nibs, some goji berries, some pumpkin seeds, a handful of freeze-dried strawberries, and some coconut chips, which just added loads of different flavours and textures. You could use whatever you like on the top though. Some fresh berries would be really nice, or even just a sliced banana. It's just a super quick, easy breakfast, and you could make this to take on the go for the next day as well in a jar or even a container. It's really filling as well, and it just gives you a big energy boost for the whole morning ahead. For a mid-morning snack, I just made a fresh mint tea, and I had that with a Primal Pantry snack bar. For the fresh mint tea, I just added a handful of washed mint leaves into a cup, and I topped that up with boiling water and then left that to infuse for around 5 minutes. And like I said, I had that with one of the Primal Pantry Brazil nut and cherry snack bars, which is such a nice combination, and as I've said before, these come in so many different flavours. Just a little something to fill a gap before lunch, and I love fresh mint tea. It's just so refreshing, and it's actually also really amazing for the digestive system. For lunch I made an ALT, or an avocado, lettuce and tomato sandwich. For this, I first took a few slices from 1 tomato. I then sliced up half an avocado, and then I took 1 slice of rye bread and my tomato, olive and red pepper paste. I'll have the recipe to this linked down below. And I spread a generous amount of that on all over. I then placed on the sliced tomato and sliced avocado. I topped mine with some fresh rocket, but you could use lettuce. And then I took another piece of rye bread and spread on some more paste because it's just so good. Then I cut that in half, placed it on a plate with a large handful of Blue Corn Tortilla Chips. So this sandwich is kind of like my version of the Pret-a-Manger Super Greens and Reds sandwich, which is just my favourite sandwich ever, and this actually comes very close as a homemade alternative. As I've said before, this paste is amazing for all sorts. In the recipe that I've linked to down below, I actually use it as a pasta sauce. It's just so versatile, and I currently have a batch in my fridge at all times. It also makes for a really nice dip as well, especially with these blue corn chips, which are really crunchy and are just the right amount of saltiness. For an afternoon snack, I just made some of these Worcester sauce toasted cashews. For this, I first placed a handful of cashew nuts in a dry pan on a medium heat, and I kept that shuffling so that they didn't burn, but just so they were a nice golden brown colour. I then splashed in some vegan Worcester sauce, kept it shuffling again, and you can just add more sauce in as you go along. It makes them a little bit sticky, almost caramelised, and I just love anything with Worcester sauce on it. It's such a delicious, intense flavour, and this again just makes for another quick, easy and tasty snack. For dinner I made a vegetable sweet and sour with brown rice. For this I first melted 1 teaspoon of coconut oil in a large pan on a medium heat. I then sliced up 1 white onion and added that to the pan and fried it off until it was soft. Next I minced in 3 cloves of garlic and fried that off too with the onion. I then sliced up 1 large carrot and I added that to the pan and fried that off too. Then I added in 1 heaped tablespoon of tomato paste, and I next sliced up 1 sweet red pepper and 2 small green peppers, added those to the pan and then gave everything a good mix together. Next I added in 1 can of chopped tomatoes, 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar and half a pint of vegetable stock. I seasoned it with salt and black pepper, and then I brought it up to a boil and then left it simmering with the lid on. In the meantime, I cooked up some brown rice, so the sweet and sour was simmering for around 25 minutes, and I chopped up a pineapple. Once the rice was almost finished, I added in 1 can of baby corn to the sweet and sour along with the pineapple chunks. I left that to cook whilst the rice finished cooking, and then I dished up the rice and finally the sweet and sour with it. I topped mine with some fresh sliced red chilli, but if you wanted to just keep it mild, then you can miss these out. Again, this is just one of my easy, go-to, comforting recipes. I think it's great all year round, and there's so many flavours and textures from the vegetables and the fruit. I tend to always serve this with brown rice. I think it's just such a nice combination, but it's also really amazing with rice noodles too. And this actually makes 4 portions altogether, so it's good to freeze for a few weeks, and then you could just reheat it as another meal later on. And then for dessert, I made some chocolate stuffed grilled bananas. For this, I first turned on my grill, and then I took 2 small bananas, we had one each, and I sliced them down the centre. I then placed those on a lined baking shelf, and then took some of this seed and bean hemp oil and pumpkin seed dark chocolate, and I broke it up into squares and then stuffed it into the bananas. I then placed those under the grill. They really only need about 3 minutes, and then I removed them, peel off the skins, and I just cut them up into bite-sized pieces. My boyfriend and I always do these on the barbecue in the summer wrapped in tin foil. It's honestly the most amazing thing, but it works just as well under the grill. It gets messy, they get gooey, but the combination of warm banana and melted chocolate is just too good. You can't beat it. I really hope you all enjoyed this video, and as always, all of the recipes will be written up in the description box below. You can catch my previous video on the left, and I'd love it if you subscribe to my channel here on the right. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!